Hello everybody, and welcome to today's episode of DownStream Outdoors. Today on DownStream Outdoors we're going to touch on fire making just a little bit. I feel if you're going to spend any amount of time in the woods, you should know how to build a basic fire rather quickly. We're going to use just a couple things. We'll explore more types of fire making later on in further episodes. This is one of the easiest ways you can make yourself fire. Now the thing is, we've had a lot of rain this year. A lot of rain. We're right here at the beginning of July still, and we're experiencing seasonal high amounts of rain. So everything is soaking wet. So we've had to make a couple special precautions for this. All the wood we're using is wood that was up off the forest floor. Everything on the forest floor is soaked. Just soaked. You could grab a hold of a lot of this wood that's real spongy and just squeeze the water right out of it. So we've had to get the stuff up underneath the hemlock trees and the pine trees and things like that that block a lot of the water out and isn't laying in the water that's on the forest floor. Gabriel and I, this is my oldest son Gabriel, we built this fire ring here real quick. We've been here maybe 20 minutes working on this real quick, walked around, found ourselves a bunch of stones so we can keep this fire nice and secure. Now I do want to remind you, we are doing this on private property. The property we are on, we are allowed to be here, we're allowed to be doing this. We have 100% permission to be here, okay? If you're gonna build a fire in the woods, make sure you're allowed to be there cutting the wood and building the fire. You don't wanna cross anybody's path that doesn't want you doing this, okay? Now what we did is we built a basic layer of wood on the bottom, you know, fairly thick limbs. We built a layer of that, and then we laid a couple cross pieces the opposite direction, and now Gabriel's building another ramp this way of finer stuff. Now what's going on here is we got to get it up off the forest floor a little bit because of how wet everything is, so that's why we build a thick bottom layer. But the reason we're giving the gaps is because any good fire needs oxygen to burn. You're not going to get a good fire without oxygen, and if we try to build it right here on this wet forest floor, we're not going to get the oxygen. It's just going to keep getting smothered and put out. Now the next thing we're going to use, Gabriel picked this up. This here is a piece of birch wood, okay? This here is laying here on the forest floor. This is one of the few things you can use off the forest floor. It's got this nice shiny kind of peely bark here, okay? What we can do is we can peel this bark right off of this old wet wood. And it comes off in nice big sheets, just like this, okay?
They know what they use for paper?
No, they use the actual wood for paper. This here, they do have a particular birch. It's a white colored bark they call paper birch. It can be used just like paper. You can write on it and everything else, but it is kind of peely, okay? Now what's significant about this birch bark? Okay, right now this birch bark is still soaking wet, okay? But we can use this to get our fire going. Now the next thing we're gonna use, ancient Native American tool, known as a Bic lighter. People have been using these to start campfires for a long time. They're very reliable until you get them wet. A lot of people carry these in your pocket. I would suggest anybody that's venturing into the woods at least carry a common lighter with them to start a fire in case of emergency. You never know, anytime you step out into the woods, something could go wrong, especially if you're by yourself, okay? You could go out there, you could fall down, you could break a leg, you could get yourself hurt and get stuck in the woods, you could get turned around and lost, okay? Those are all potentially fatal things here in the Pennsylvania woods, especially later on in fall and in the winter time, whenever nighttime temperatures can dip into the extremes, causing hypothermia and eventually death. So, like I said, we'll continue to build on different types of fire that you can build and different ways to start these fires, but today we're going to start our birch bark that's soaking wet with a common Bic lighter. You can see even though it's soaking wet, it picked up a flame rather quickly, and it's continuing to hold that flame. You actually see some black smoke rolling off of this, okay? That black smoke is the oil that's in the birch bark, okay? The oil in the birch bark is what keeps this aflame. Now we're going to take this here, and it's going to continue to build them, and we're going to set it right on top of our bed of sticks that we've built here in our fire pit. Now we're going to take, Gabriel's got ourselves some nice fine tinder. Okay, what tinder is very fine, dry stuff that'll pick up a flame real quick. Okay, and we're going to start putting our tinder over top of our fire where this birch bark is burning, because what we want it to do is produce small coals that fall down into the bigger pieces of wood, which catch them on fire, which keep getting each layer on fire, and then we'll start adding more stuff on top of what we have currently. Okay, what we've done now is we've continually to add on top of our birch bark smaller, then bigger, then a little bit bigger, and we keep building it up in like a teepee fashion. Okay, what this does is it centralizes the heat right in the heart of everything in the teepee, and it really brings the fire up over the wood that we're trying to get to ignite to fall down over the rest of the wood with the coals that'll light the rest of our fire and have us a nice bed of coals here to cook on today out here in the woods. This fire, we can keep feeding it, we can keep putting more birch bark on it if we have to. We found ourselves a good many limbs out here, but even at this rate right here, if this is all the bigger the fire you could build in a survival situation, this little tiny fire right here could save your life very easily. This is all you needed. Gabriel and I haven't moved from this spot right here, and we've spent a total of maybe 5 minutes, and we have a nice little fire, even though everything around us is completely soaking wet, that laying on the forest floor from all the rain. We still have been able to build ourselves a nice little fire to cook our meal on today in the forest. Now, I want to leave you with this parting note. What is knowledge? Knowledge is something we all gain over a lifetime. It's taken me a lifetime to learn everything I know about the outdoors. I continue to learn. Every day that I spend in the woods, I learn something new. And for that, I'm thankful. I love to learn. Another one of the things I love to do is teach. And there's nobody in the world I'd rather teach than my own children. I couldn't be happier to have my oldest son, Gabriel, here. My youngest son, Sawyer's here with me today, too. I love to share my knowledge with my children. With that, I hope all of you, all parents, take the time. Share what you love with your children. Maybe it's not the outdoors. Maybe your interest is something completely different. Take the time. Share it with your children. Share it with your nieces, your nephews. Share it with someone you love. Because what is knowledge if we cannot share it with each other? And until next time, keep your line wet and out of the trees.